Hello guys, welcome to Top Wisdom, a channel where you get important information before writing an exam. So stay tuned. Today we're going to do the Spring poem. The title of the poem is Spring, which is by Gerard Manley Hopkins. So this is the short poem. It's very short and I think it will be easy. So let me just explain first about the poem and talk more about the poem. So let me begin. Born at Stanford, Essex, England on July 28, 1844, Gerard Manley Hopkins is regarded as one of the 3 or 4 greatest poets of Victorian era. He was the oldest of 9 children. His father and mother were deeply religious members of the Anglican Church of England. He is regarded by most people as the greatest Victorian poet of religion, nature, and melancholy. However, because his style was radically different from his contemporaries, his best poems were not accepted for publications during his lifetime. Many of the trademark conversations which define Hopkins' poetry are to be found in the poem. His friend, poet Robert Bridges, edited a volume of Hopkins' poems that first appeared in 1918. He focused on nature and God in his poems. He believed by appreciating nature you could get closer to God. While studying at Oxford, 1866, he left the Anglican Church and became a Roman Catholic. He banned all his poems that year because he wanted to focus on serving God. But in 1877, he started writing poetry again. So, I've read and I've explained everything about the poem. So, now we are beginning on the important things. Let me start. Type and structure. Okay, I'm going to try and explain this on my own terms so that you guys can understand. Because this poem is short, it's very short, so I'm going to explain this as short as possible. So the structure of the poem consists of 14 lines. The poem has 14 lines, which all of us can see. It has 14 lines. The first 8 lines are referred to as an octave. The first 8 lines are referred to as an octave. The last 6 lines are referred to as an sextet. The rhyme scheme is ABBA, ABBA, CD, CD, CD. That's the rhyme scheme. So those are the important things about the structure of the poem. And by the way, the octave describes the beauty of the spring and Hopkins' appreciation of it. Describes the beauty of the spring, as you know that the spring is beautiful. And the sextet reflects upon the meaning of this wonderful beauty of nature. This is it. This is all you need to know about the structure of the poem. Then we're going to the title now. The title of the poem, it refers to the season itself with its connotations of beauty, freshness, and growth. It refers to the season itself with its beauty, freshness, and growth. This is the title of the poem, as the title of the poem is Spring. So spring metaphorically refers to the period of youth in a human life. It signifies rebirth and renewal. Spring signifies rebirth and renewal. The start of the spring is like a new beginning, a new birth or rebirth. For a Christian like Hopkins, spring was also the time of Easter, commemorating the death and resurrection of Christ. We all know Easter, where Christians come together to celebrate the resurrection of Christ. So now we are going to themes now. The beauty of spring and nature, which is under themes, the beauty of spring and nature. Religion. Nature reminds the speaker of the power of God. It reminds Hopkins of the power of God. In the instant, the poem turns to prayer. There are many references to religion symbols in the poem. Man and natural world. Innocence, the temporary nature of spring. Those are the themes. Man and natural world. Innocence and the temporary nature of spring. Now we are going to the tone of the poem. The tone of the poem opens with a happy, joyful, energetic, celebratory tone. That simply means there's joy, there's happiness. It celebrates the qualities of the natural world. Natural world, spring is nature, natural world. The tone is appreciative, complimentary, lively, energetic, portraying, and I wouldn't say anymore. It's energetic, lively, complimentary. It's energetic. The speaker is energetic. That's the tone of the poem. In the instant, the tone changes. It becomes more uncertain and questioning. The tone intensifies to one of the agency and anxiousness, even depression. There is even depression on the tone. There's a place where it spells depression, which means the speaker was depressed at that time. And there's also the tone of regret in the poem. So you can say the tone was joyful, energetic in the beginning, but in the end or in the middle, the tone changed and became different. The speaker showed that he was desperate, and also if he had regrets. So now we are going to analysis of the poem. We are going to analysis of the poem. Now we are going inside now. We're going to explain each and every line. Each and every line is going to be explained now. So listen carefully and make sure you understand what this is about, because now we are getting into the real business now. Line 1. Nothing is so beautiful as spring. Nothing is so beautiful as spring. This is line 1. Simile in the line 1. Nothing can be compared to beauty of spring. The poet states with the absolute conviction that spring is the most beautiful season there is. So the poem states that there's nothing better than spring. There's nothing better than spring. Me personally, I prefer rainy days, but as the poet says, there's nothing better than spring. That simply means the author loves spring. There's nothing better than spring. That spring is the most beautiful season there. He allows no debate. This is the way it is. That simply means he puts it in that way. There's no debate. It's not an opinion, it's a fact. The poet makes use of alliteration of the S sound and internal rhyming to emphasize the beauty. Dash indicates that an explanation will follow. The dash there, as you see in the poem, there's a dash. Nothing is so beautiful as a spring, then there's a dash. So it indicates that something will follow. This one, your teacher might have explained it already, but I'm going to explain it again. It indicates that an explanation will follow. So always remember, even when you read other poets, when writing an exam, dash indicates that explanation will follow. The speaker is now going to give examples of why he thinks spring is so beautiful. Examples: weeds, eggs, birdsong, pear tree, sky, lamps, Another. The dash also creates a pause, and thus almost becomes a challenge to the reader to contradict him. This was line 1. I'm already explained line 1. Now you know line 1. Now you know the simile. I already said the simile and I said the dash. You have learned something new. Now we are going to line 2. Line 2 says, when weeds in wheels, I'm gonna repeat again. When weeds in wheels shoot long and lovely and lush. So let me explain what this says. To the speaker, even the weeds are unwanted. Unwanted parasite plants are beautiful. That simply means even the weeds are beautiful. They grow thickly and lusciously. This emphasizes by the W alliteration. There's a W alliteration there. The W alliteration means the speaker is actually praising the weeds, saying that the weeds are beautiful. They look beautiful. There is so much growth that even the weeds growing through old cant wheels are a joy to look at. The speaker finds joy looking at the weeds. Weeds has a negative connotation, while lovely and lush has a positive connotation. So you should underline that. Underline it now on your paper, saying lovely and lush has a positive connotation. The poet's extreme love and admiration for spring makes him see all the new growth, even wild, unwanted plants prompted by spring, as beautiful. This image emphasizes not only the natural beauty of the natural beauty of nature, but also harmony between man and nature as experienced by the speaker. The man loves nature. We can see that since the beginning of the poem. The man loves nature. That simply means he prefers nature. He loves nature. Is where he finds joy when he is connected with nature. The assonance, an example of internal rhyme too, of EE sound, weeds, wheels, creates a deep, full and reverberating sound. It emphasizes the energy and the lush, thick, energetic growth of plants during springtime. I think I've already explained this. In the first, I told you that the poet's tone is energetic, joyful. So this is the part where it's also joyful. This is the part I was explaining when I said the poet is joyful and energetic. So whenever you write in exams and you see the topic says spring, just think of joyful. Everything will just come in the mind, and you could write and explain this poem easily. There's nothing difficult. The word shoot emphasizes the long stems of developing plants and the idea of unstoppable growth. It gives sense of spread of their growth. Shoot gives sense of spread of their growth. As you know, when you shoot a gun, the gun is very quickly. It's quicker than the sound. If you're doing science, you know this. The gun is quicker than sound. This idea is further emphasized by the use of the I alliteration. Lush, growing thickly and strongly. So I could say slash or lush, growing thickly and strongly, growing in extreme abundance. A sense of richness and abundant freshness is emphasized by the word. A lush area has a lot of green, healthy plants. So that's it about lush. Then now, I've already explained line 2. We are going to line 3. Thrush's egg look little low heavens and thrush. That's line 3. The speaker has left out of the like between look and little. It is implied by leaving out the like it reduces the sense of distance. It seems to bring the eggs in the sky that much closer together. Eggs in the sky much closer together. A thrush is a songbird with a brown back, spotted breast. By the way, Their eggs are beautiful blue, and blue eggs have a similar appearance to the sky, so it looks as if the heavens have come down to the earth. The sky is associated with heaven. Here is represented the blue color of the sky. Remember guys, the author himself is a Christian. So heaven is beautiful. So as you can see, it says it feels like heaven has been brought down to earth. The poem seems to be celebrating the heaven on earth feel of spring. So since we're in line 3, there's a metaphor there, so I'm going to say it. Metaphor: the eggs of the thrush with their distinct blue color resemble the blue color of the sky, which is associated with the heavens. Eggs, like spring, symbolize rebirth and growth. Heavens might have two meanings here: the blue sky and the place where God is to be found. As you know, heaven is where God can be found. So alliteration: the I and the th alliteration, which runs on into the next line, emphasizes the abundance of nature. Thrush, used as a verb here, it describes the piercing, vibrating sound of the bird song. Thrush describes the bird song. So in line 3, thrush describes the bird song, and there's also a metaphor where they speak about heaven. That's the metaphor. So just know that. That's line 3. Through the echoing timber does so rents and ring. The ear it strikes like lightnings to hear him sing. That's line 4 and 5. Line 4 and 5. That's it. Like the last line, this one also ends with enjambment. So this also ends with enjambment. So we will have to read on to the next line to know the speaker's full dot. Simile. In this simile, line 3 to 5, the sound of the thrush song is compared to the lightning that strikes. The sound of the thrush song is compared to the lightning that strikes. Don't forget that. It emphasizes that the sound of the bird song is strikingly powerful and piercingly loud as sound of lightning is. So, as you know that when the lightning strikes, it shocks everybody. So it catches attention of everyone. So the author here says the lightning, I'm going to explain on simpler terms. The author here says the lightning catches attention. That means the bird song that we are talking about now catches attention of everybody close to it, or everybody who hears it. So there's also there's also a metaphor. The thrush song being extremely loud and piercing echoes through the wood timber. It is not the timber that echoes. So that's the metaphor. A timber cannot have an echo. It does not have an echo. That's a metaphor. It's not real. The song of the thrush can be heard echoing through the forest and is exhilarating to the listener. The use of lightnings rather than lightning is interesting. It gives the feeling of many lightning strikes. In that way, makes the sound and effect of thrush song all the more overwhelming. It emphasizes the overwhelming feeling of cleansing and serenity the listener experiences as he listens to the song of the thrush. The sound is forceful and overwhelming in its beauty. It reinforces the idea of new life, new energy, and the sheer power of spring. Just as the striking lightning is powerful, similarly, the sound of the singing of the thrush invokes the powerful feeling in the speak. Lightning is fast, sharp, and bright. We all know lightning is fast, sharp, and bright. If you don't know it, you can search for it on Google. and that is how experiences the bird song. So the bird song, as I've said, I talk about attention, that the lightning, whenever lightning strikes, it catches the attention of everybody. When it strikes, especially close to you, it catches your attention. So the bird song is like that. It catches the attention of everybody. The way it's so strong. That's why it's a metaphor, by the way. It is extremely powerful and cleansing. Rinse and wring are associated with washing and cleaning. The bird song has a cleansing effect. It announces the freshness of spring and provides the listener with the sense of renewal, freshness, freshness, by the way. It refreshes the listener. That simply means it refreshes you, and perhaps lets him more clearly hear and experience the beauty of the world during the time of renewal. You experience the beauty of the world during the time of renewal. So I have explained this on my own terms, and I try to make it as simple as possible. But I think the only way you can pass this and know this is to write down key points. Always write down key points, because you cannot cram this. Most of learners I've seen always cram these things. You must know them, don't cram them. So write down the key points. That's my advice to you. Now we are going to line 6. The glassy peartree leaves and blooms they brush. This is line 6. The poet now zooms in on yet another very beautiful sight. The blossoming pear tree against the blue sky. The tree is transformed as it grows leaves and blossoms, reaching high up in the sky. So there's a metaphor there. Metaphor glassy pear tree. The pear tree is full blown because of the pure white flowers, resembles as the ice-covered tree. A reverence to the ice from the end of winter. Again, I'm gonna say it again. Certain words seem to be missing. Instead of groans, leaves, the speaker uses only leaves. It is used as a verb. This has an effect of making the action feel more immediate and fast. Spring is described in such a way that it seems as if one is watching spring in fast-forward mode. The pear tree grows leaves and then its flowers blossom. That's what we talk about when we say fast-forward mode. Some of the words are missing. Enjambment. The enjambment in 9-6 is brush, links with the next line. So that's all you need to know about line 6. Line 7, the descending blue, that blue is all in rush. The color blue is repeated twice in this line, also in line 3. Brush the blue, it seems as if the trees are tall, that the leaves and blossoms are so close to the sky that they actually brush against it and touch it, almost as if they are painting the blue of the sky. So I could say that's personification. That's personification because there's no way a tree can touch the sky. This is just trying to tell you that the tree is tall. That the tree is very tall. That's why they say the tree is touching. That's why I say the tree is touching the sky. The tree is very tall. So descending, falling or sinking, coming down to the earth, that's something that's descending, by the way. Falling or sinking. Personification, the blue sky hurries down. I could put this on this way when I say personification. The blue sky hurries down, descending all in a rush. to share and unite its beauty and brightness with the fresh, exploding beauty on the earth. The use of the word rush captures the unstoppable energy of the season. A sense of unity, abundance of the nature is created. The poet emphasizes the idea that heaven or heavenliness is not distant. It reaches right down to the earth. Heaven and earth are in harmony. Now that winter has passed, suddenly, all in a rush, the sky becomes rich, deep blue, and the surrounding area lush green. So, this is all about line 7. This is all you need to know about line 7. Now we are going to line 8. With richness and racing lamps to have fair their fling. The blue sky seems to overpower everything and make it rich. So that's with richness. In line 8, the blue sky overpowers everything. The sh and ch sounds create a sense of lushness. With richness, links with an explosion of beauty described in the previous line. 2. Everything we have seen so far in this poem is vibrant and full of energy, rushing forward in exuberance and abundance. The spring lamps to rejoice in the spring with the energetic, playful, running and leaping about. Tone, happy and energetic. I've already said this in the beginning. The tone is happy and energetic. The lamps are racing about, playful and joy. We also get richness of sound. The internal rhyme of the fair and there, the alliteration of richness and racing, fair and fling. It emphasizes the unstoppable growth and jubilation that spring brings. The unstoppable growth and jubilation that spring brings. That's what the poem emphasizes. Fair and their fling. Fair and check use. Glad and joyful, I've said from the beginning. These are one of the words that fall under line 8, which I've said, which are energetic, joyful. I'm saying again that it is glad or joyful, or you can use pleasant, free from obstacle. In this constant, they rush about excitingly enjoying themselves. Fling. Now we're going to the fling. To move suddenly and violently. Rush. When someone is rushing is energetic and it's something like emergency. So energetic and jumping around. Both words carry the idea of abundant and unrestrained joy portrayed by the young lamb's religious connotation. Jesus is referred to as a lamb of God. Man is seen as sheep in the flock with God as their shepherd. Lambs are symbol of innocence and purity. This is the end of the octave. The poets used the rhyme and enjambment, coupled with the absence of full stops in the entire octave, ensure that the reader is made fully aware of the beauty and vitality associated with the spring. This is all you need to know about line 8. Now you're going to line 9. What is all this juice and all this joy? So this is like a question in line 9. As you can see, there's a question mark. The censor introduces a sharp change in what the poet does and feels. He no longer describes the scenery, he asks the question. So the author asks himself a question. The poem becomes much more reflective. Hopkins begins by posing a rhetorical question. Where does all this joy and energy come from? What is the meaning of all his growth, energy to enjoy? And the reader is invited to slow down and contemplate the answer to this question. Hopkins is looking for a real meaning that lies behind the happiness, energy, and beauty of the nature in springtime. Juice, sap, liquid, or energy. It is another word that reinforces the lushness of the scene and the season. It also helps give a physical grounding to the broader idea of joy. Joy, the happiness that spring seems to bring into humans and animals. So this is the rhetorical question. The author asks himself a question now about what is the where does the happiness come from? So 9 is about that. As I've said, joy, the happiness that springs seems to bring into human and animals. Joy is that. So you are going to line 10 and 11. Line 10, a strain of earth's sweet being in beginning, in Eden garden, have get before its cloy. So this one actually go together. Invasion, Eden garden. We usually speak of the Garden of Eden. The poet assesses the springtime, perhaps gives us an idea of what the biblical Garden of Eden must have been like before Adam and Eve sinned, as it is written in the Bible. There's Adam and Eve on the Bible. It symbolizes innocence and perfection. The speaker is comparing the beauty and joy of spring to the sweetness and beauty of the Garden of Eden, a time when there was no sin, just innocence. The unspoiled beauty and fruitfulness of spring is compared to the beauty of Garden of Eden, represents innocence, freshness, purity. So, as I've read so far, that the Eden of Garden represents freshness, and purity and innocence. That's what it represents, as I've said. So the end on the sentence there in line 10 and 11, there's a metaphor. So I'm going to explain it on my own terms and make sure I make it as simple as possible, because in some of the people it seems complicated, so I'm going to make it as simple as possible. Metaphor: spring is a strain and remnant, descendant, or a small reflection of the Garden of Eden. It is a small reflection of the Garden of Eden. That's the metaphor. Strain also refers to music, something that is repeated. Here, spring is a musical echo of Eden's perfection. Spring is also that is left of purity, wholeness of the Garden of Eden, earth as God created it before the fall of man. It also refers to the expulsion from Garden of Eden and the speaker's pleas with God to save the innocent minds from sin. Humpkin presents us with nature in the spring as an example of purity, but he worries that it will be spoiled. So Humpkin worries that it will be spoiled, as I'm saying now. By the way, metaphor, as I've already explained it, that it is a strain, also refers to music, something that is repeated. Here, spring is music and echo of Eden's perfection. So I've already said the metaphor, and I'm through it. The fall of man, as described in the biblical story, described all initial purity and joy. Man's intrusion seems to damage and corrupt the beauty of nature. Addressing Christ, line 12, he asked him to intervene on earth to protect his most precious creatures, children, from the loss of innocence that comes from sin. So Hopkins also prays and asks Christ to protect creatures, children, from loss of innocence. So he asks Christ to protect the children and creatures. The tone becomes more urgent and pleading. As I've said before, the tone have changed there from energetic to joyful. It becomes more urgent and pleading. Have it, enjoy and appreciate nature as God intended us to see it before its cloy. By the way, cloy is an ancient word that means disgusting or sick feeling, like when you have had too much to eat or drink. Sick from excess of sweetness and richness. Line 12. Before it cloud, Christ Lord and saw with sinning. Alliteration links Troy and cloud. As alliteration 2, it connects the saw and sinning, emphasizes and the effects of sin. The speaker is urging Christ to get hold of, protect disobedience and lashness before its spores goes bad. The way it goes bad, we learn, is through sin. That's what happened with Eden. The speaker begs and implores Jesus desperately to stop children from losing their innocence. He is concerned that just as the season of spring slowly changes into the heat of the summer, so children as they grow older begin to lose their innocence. We all know this. Children as they grow older, they lose their innocence. He begs that Christ will intervene. So the speaker also actually begs that Christ must intervene so that he can stop sin. The word cloud, by the way, refers to become less transparent, dirty or blackened. All of a sudden, a sense of anguish has entered the poem. We say anguishing because there's a strong sense of urgency. Have gets before its Troy from line 11 and pain. So in the poem, as I've read, there's an apostrophe. Speaker addresses God directly. When we get to the Christ Lord, it not only becomes clear that our speaker is Christian, but the poem also begins to sound more directly like prayer. Enjoy it before it loses purity and obscures that which is wholesome and good. So, in contrast with sweet in previous line, it means to spoil, make bad and miserable. Thus emphasizes the loss of innocence. Sinning, we all know sinning, committing bad deeds, breaking God's law. Normally people pray for cleansing after they have sinned. In the sense that Hopkins wants Jesus to save the innocent so that they do not sin. So now we are going to line 13, innocent mind and mayday in girl and boy. Earlier in the poem, lamb symbolizes innocence. Now the inevitable loss of innocence becomes apparent. Hopkins identifies the aspect of beauty he most wishes to see preserved. He is referring to the childhood innocence. He obviously sees this as a springtime of mayday, of human life. Spring signifies the period of youth in human life. Mayday, the 1st of May, is an ancient celebration in the northern Europe to welcome the start of spring after months of cold, dark, wet weather, by the way. It is also a celebration of growing fertility. Mayday may have a particular meaningful Hopkins as the month in which Catholics humor the Virgin Mary here also symbolizes innocence. He is asking God to save the children, girl and boy, innocent minds from being corrupted by the sin, therefore also changing like nature did, not becoming what God has intended for them, losing their innocence. So as the tone here, as you can see, there's a tone here which is urgent and pleading, because now Hopkins is begging and asking God to change, to stay with the children, girl or boy, so that they can keep their innocence alive, so that they cannot change as the spring changes. It is innocent minds that are threatened with the possibility of cloying, being corrupted, and clothing and soaring with sinning. The speaker is pleading that God should also save the children's innocent mind from being corrupted by sin. If they are corrupted, they lose their innocence. There is a sense of agency and pleading combined with the feeling that it's going to happen anyway. So the speaker knows that it's going to happen anyway. But there's a sense of agency and pleading. The kids will grow up and they will not be innocent anymore. So line 14, most homemade child they die choice and worthy the winning. Most sense of agency and pleading combined with the feeling that it is going to happen anyway. So this is like the speaker has lost hope. The speaker has lost hope. He knows that's going to happen because he already said that that's where children learn, and that's where children can correct their mistakes. There's no one who doesn't make mistakes. The kids will grow up and they will lose innocence anymore. Apostrophe, addressing Jesus directly made child, is a reference to Jesus born of the Virgin Mary. One meaning of maid is virgin. Above all, son of the Virgin intervenes before their sins prevent them from choosing you. He appeals to Jesus as the child of Mary to win innocent children to his side and save them from sin. This is unusual because normally people who pray to Jesus want to be cleansed of sin after it has happened. Jesus is normally the savior of sinners. Homkin wants Jesus to save the innocent before they have ever even sinned, to preserve their innocence. The poem has certainly become a prayer, one that changes from awe and praise and anguish, despair, pleading, if Jesus can win the innocent young, they will not be corrupted by sin. Thy choice acknowledges, as most prayers do, that the power, the choice to allow sin is in God's hand. The word choice emphasizes the idea of free will, and maybe that's the answer to the question. In order to allow free will, God has to allow sin. Therefore, what the poet asks for in line 14 is not possible. In the same way that the spring cannot last forever. As the spring is beautiful, we described in the first time, we described earlier that the spring is beautiful and is joyful, but it does not last forever. Children innocence is bound to disappear. So the speaker is now accepted that children innocence will disappear. It will not last forever. It must disappear. So don't forget to subscribe. Check other metric poem summary where I've summarized every poem just like this one. Make sure you watch them so that you can get the benefits and be ahead. So like the video, share the video. Peace.